Our topic today is a continuation of the topic on spiritual mind treatment. What is different this month is the focus on the importance of feeling. In the Science of Mind textbook, page 398, Ernest Holmes writes, "Our mental acceptances should be filled with conviction, warmth, color, and imagination. The creative power responds to feeling more quickly than to any other attitude. Therefore, we should try to feel the reality of what we are doing when we give a treatment. This reality is felt as we become more and more convinced Spirit responds to us." Let us now use the power of our word to transform our minds and thus our lives, and say with me, "As I pray, I look beyond the appearance and expand my consciousness to feel, to realize the allness and perfection of Spirit, which is closer to me than my own breath. This feeling of oneness or allness is the creative power that is now turning my words into a bright new experience." Thank you.
So it is.
Lovely. Thank you, Nancy. And that is somebody who knows how to read with feeling. Yay, Nancy.
And Dwayne.
Yes, and Dwayne too. So these entire 2 months are being devoted to this form of prayer that we teach called spiritual mind treatments. When you hear spiritual mind treatment in your minds, if you're new to this, just keep translating it back into this is a form of prayer. It's a way in which we consciously use our words to expand our consciousness, and I'll be going through it a little bit later, into a state of high joy, awe, wonder, and receptivity to the newness that is being birthed in our lives. And it is actually a transformation of consciousness that takes place as we use this form of prayer. So spiritual mind treatment. Does any of the new people, do you have a copy of the spiritual mind treatment form? I don't know if they were put in the new packets or not. But if you're new, how about if you raise your hands, and looks like Tom is going to go get some forms for you so that you have the format. I'm not sure if they put them in there yet. Okay. All right, so just raise your hands if you're new and Tom is coming around, because I think it's really helpful to have this. Lovely. Okay, beautiful. And Bob. Bob. Okay, everybody's covered. Great. Okay, so I invite you not to be reading it while I'm talking, but maybe look at it later. It's one of the dangers of handing things out ahead of time, right? So this beautiful thing called spiritual mind treatment, I love, like I mentioned before, how it has been, it's something that has risen up out of all of the ancient wisdom of all time. And my intention is to show you how all of that works together. And it is a beautiful, practical tool to help, like I said, transform your consciousness so that it's the fertile soil for all of the new dreams that are coming through you, that you're wanting to give birth to in your life. So if you've had a lot of dreams that haven't been made manifest, up until now, I invite you to really deeply study and consider daily using this form of prayer to truly transform your consciousness and therefore your life. So I want to start with a very short but very powerful parable that was used by the great spiritual master, and I would say metaphysician, Jesus. And it's in Matthew 9 and verse 17. It says, "Neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst. The wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved." So here's the thing about parable that I think is really important to understand, is that parable can be read on multiple levels. And the great spiritual masters knew this. And it's actually 3 levels. The surface mind looks at it as entertainment, it's just entertainment. You go a little deeper and you look for the moral behind it. How can I change my actions in life and be a better person? But then there's an even deeper level, which is all about consciousness. It's about changing the subconscious mind. And Jesus calls this inner world within us that is the cause of our lives, the kingdom of heaven. He says the kingdom of heaven is within, right? Mm-hmm. So he calls this the kingdom of heaven. And so the parables are lessons on how to not only access, but to use the spiritual laws that are involved in this inner realm to transmute and to transform that consciousness, that deep subconscious mind, in order to be this beautiful, like I said before, fertile soil in which our dreams can start taking root and then be made manifest in our lives. So let's take a look at this particular one, this thing about wineskins, old wines, putting new wine in old wineskins and they burst, and no, you want to put it in a new wineskin. Well, anybody who understands how wineskins work realize that they come from a part of the animal, usually a stomach or something like that can expand. And the reason why they want it to expand is because the wine, the ingredients for the wine are put into the wineskin, and as it ferments, it expands, right. So what happens then is it's expanded and it sits there for a while, as it ferments and ages and all that kind of thing. And the wineskin then gets very brittle over time. And so, once you pour out the wine and use it, and it's time to make some new wine, if you put the new wine into the brittle old wineskin along with the fermentation, it's going to explode, right. So it doesn't work. So what a beautiful metaphor for our minds. The wine, or the ingredients for the wine are life itself, that life energy that flows through us. So just think of it as the life energy. And the container, the wineskin, is our consciousness. So if we think we're going to get a different result in our life, the life moving through us, if I change a job, if I change my job, if I change a relationship, if I travel to make myself feel better, whatever it is that we think those external things are that are going to make us feel better, as long as we hold the old beliefs of lack and limitation, we are living in old wineskins. Our consciousness is an old wineskin. And so we're going to get same old. You could think of it as the bursting, it bursts the bubble of our dreams over and over and over again, because our consciousness is the container of limitation. And so what we must do then in order to give birth to new dreams is change the wineskin. Get rid of the old wineskin beliefs that don't serve us and adopt expansive, magnificent new ideas about who we are in truth and what this life is all about, and this the source of all that is that provides for us so abundantly. So as we expand again, we are becoming that new wineskin through which life can pour itself into wonderful and beautiful and sweet manifestation. Everybody with me?
Yes.
All right. So then we come back to this whole thing about feeling. So what does this have to do with feeling, right? This whole entire thing. Because this is the deal. As we hold on to our old concepts of ourselves, of life, we see ourselves as separate from our good, and we see life as a struggle and it's difficult and things don't work for me, and all those ideas that we might have, or we think those other people are what are causing me to be miserable, or I'll be happy as soon as I get so and so, that kind of thinking. When we think external things are going to change how we feel, that's the old wineskin that must be let go of immediately. And when we believe those kinds of things, we set ourselves up for feelings of misery and fear and resentment and frustration and anger and hurt and all of those other things that do not serve us and do not allow that newness to be made manifest. So what spiritual mind treatment does, this type of affirmative prayer, is that it transforms, as we're thinking higher thoughts, as we're thinking about the expansive nature of the divine, and that we are that unlimited presence, individualized, and our minds are unified with the mind of God. When we think those kinds of thoughts, what happens to our feelings? They're raised. We raise ourselves through our thought and through contemplating higher truth. We raise ourselves into the vibration of love, of gratitude, of peace, of joy, of just the excitement of possibility, enthusiasm. So those feelings are an indicator that we are on the right track with our thought. And we can generate that. That's the beautiful thing of it. We can choose to take our minds out of the old habit patterns and start putting them in the direction of the new. Now, I'm not going to say that instantaneously your mind will be transformed. For some people, it is. So, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. But for most of us, what happens is we continue to do our spiritual mind treatment, our daily meditation, and continue to plant new thoughts into our minds. And here's what happens. And I love this analogy. We use this a lot in our introductory class called Foundations. Is think of your subconscious mind as particularly if we've picked up a lot of false beliefs along the way, as muddy water, okay? And maybe the mud has kind of gone to the bottom a little bit, but you start pouring in clear water, all these spiritual truths, what happens to the mud? It comes to the surface. So often when I'm working with people who are really beginning to use their affirmations, spiritual mind treatment, meditation, they'll say to me, "Oh my gosh, I'm all these feelings are coming up and they're not so good, and I can hear all the mind chatter and it's all that old stuff." And so what I tell them is breathe and just say goodbye. It's on its way out, Imagine it as on its way out, because that's what's really happening. It's coming to the surface to be released. And so we just keep putting the new thoughts, the higher ideas in our conscious mind. So again, the creative power responds to feeling. And therefore, it's important that we change our thoughts to cultivate those higher states of feeling. Ernest Holmes says so beautifully that when you treat, when we pray in this way, we resolve things into thoughts, which are the elements of consciousness or our beliefs. Having resolved everything into thought, know that what appears as disease or lack of funds or any other condition that you don't want is just an effect of false thought, a false belief that has no power since it's an idea in the absence of good. So he says again, know that the whole thing is mental and then mentally dissolve it. So we can mentally dissolve our old beliefs when we realize that what the conditions are in our lives that we don't like are simply the result of the past history of thought. And so rather than send yourself on a guilt trip, oh my gosh, how did I create this? And you don't even have to figure that out. It's really much more helpful to yourself to say, okay, so what do I want to create from this moment forward? And empower yourself. We have the power to transform our consciousness and therefore transform our lives. So spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer then changes our consciousness, which changes not just our consciousness, it actually changes collective consciousness, the consciousness of all, and changes the situation about what we're praying. So Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Buddhist, the Buddhists teach the same principle, and I think you'll find this in a lot of different spiritual traditions. They have their own way of teaching the same principle. As within, so without. If you're going to change your life, change your consciousness. And this is what Thich Nhat Hanh says in his book called The Energy of Prayer. He said, if there is a change in the individual consciousness, then a change in collective consciousness will happen. Then the situation of the individual we are praying about can change. Sounds really familiar, right? I mean, this is essentially what we teach. So Thich Nhat Hanh was talking about one evening he was sitting in meditation, and there was a nun who lived in Hanoi, Vietnam, that he was focusing his meditation on, and what he calls sending spiritual energy. That's the type of prayer that the Buddhists do, sending spiritual energy. He was through doing a process called loving compassion. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. When he was doing it within himself and then also sending this love energy to her in his own mind. Remember, it's all happening within. He got word that there was a miraculous healing that took place, which did not surprise him because he understood that this is how it works. And he went on to say that not only does that heal the other person, he finds that it heals himself. It heals his own heart. This is what we talk about in teaching spiritual mind treatment. The practitioner, the one who does the prayer, is healed also by speaking the truth because we're all connected. When we do our Power of Eight group, which we're going to be doing after service today, it's the same principle. When we all focus our intention on knowing that the person that we're sending our love to is receiving that prayer, when we are directing our love and our intention, we find that there is a healing and that we are healed as well. There's a healing within us. So it's so beautiful how this works. So as a spiritual community, as we continue to practice loving kindness in our hearts and in our minds toward each other, when we include each other in our prayers, when we see the spiritual truth about each other. We are building a field of loving kindness in which all things are possible. All things are possible. Not just some things, all things are possible. So then, what is it in the spiritual mind treatment that cultivates this feeling? And so this is where I want to do a little review with you. It begins with two stages, the first two stages that really set the stage in consciousness, help you burst right out of that feeling of separation and into this awareness of the field of unlimited potentiality and possibility that you are. So, recognition and unification are the first two stages. Recognition is all about the all that is, the presence of God, the presence of the divine, Great Spirit, whatever you want to call this presence, it doesn't care. The idea, though, is to contemplate with our words, with our thoughts, this greater reality, this infinite, invisible reality from which the physical world is made manifest. Realizing that this all that is greater than the universe, is greater than what we're now realizing is multiverses, many universes, is the very source of the magnificence of life itself, not only our own lives, but all life and the infinite variety of life and the way in which it all works together in a magnificent order. As we contemplate this higher reality, we realize that presence is a presence of order, a presence of love. Oh my gosh, all we need to see is the love between a parent and their child, or between family members that deeply love one another, or friends, or whatever it might be, to realize that that is just a smidgen of the love that is present in the all that is, an infinite reservoir of love. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm actually taking you through a spiritual mind treatment. It's a contemplation of truth. Remember what Jesus said. He said, know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. We are knowing the truth when we're doing spiritual mind treatment. We are reminding ourselves of this higher reality from which we come, from which we originate. And then what we do is we go, well, my gosh, if the all that is all there is, then I am some individualized expression of that all that is. I am made of God stuff.
Yes.
I am God stuff. I am the essence of the divine. So on the individual level, the realm of our inner world, our thoughts and that reality, that's the essence. The essence is there. The part of us that chooses and that observes and that chooses love and chooses peace, that is our true reality. And that reality, that presence, is so far beyond what the body is. The body is just a container. It's our earth suit in this reality for this period of time. And yet this is what I believe, we are eternal beings. We don't have end. There's no end to us. We continue on and on and on. And there's an urge within us that is the same as the universal presence that we see in the expanding universe, right? There's a urge in us to expand, to grow, and to unfold. And that's why we're all here, right?
I want the bumper sticker. I am God stuff.
So that's why we're all here. We're all here to grow, to expand, to enjoy the delicious wine of life. That amazing life. Okay, so those are the first two stages. Just God is all there is, and contemplating that, and that I am an individualized expression of that one. Therefore, I'm a creative being. My nature is to create. My nature is to participate in creation. Wow. And so, with that realization, then we begin to steer our thoughts and our words in the direction of what we want to create instead of complaining, which is what we don't want to create, right? That's misusing our creative power. Or focusing on what we don't like and going over and over it in our minds, that's focusing on what we don't like. That's creating what we don't like. So now that we know that we are these amazing creative beings, oh my gosh. So that's where the realization step comes in. This is the third step in treatment. That's where we state our new beliefs. We can actually, in that time also say, you know what? I no longer believe in separation. My new belief is that I am unified with the all that is. My new belief is that my word has power, and I am now guided and directed into greater thinking, thoughts that serve me. And then I can start describing the new reality of my life from this beautiful, wide open consciousness. Oh my gosh, I can create healthy, loving relationships, and I'm doing that now. And I can create a flow of financial well-being so that I can really, truly give my gifts on the planet. And I'm doing that now, and so on and so forth. So that's realization. And so once we've painted a picture in our minds of our new life, okay, you see how we're forming this beautiful new wineskin? Then we say, I give thanks. I give thanks for the manifestation. We give thanks in advance. And actually, we're not really giving thanks in advance. It seems like it's in advance, but the moment that we conceive our new reality, that seed is planted in universal soil. It's already been created. So it's almost like there's two levels of the creation. There's the creation in our mind, and then when it shows up in our world, it's the creation in the manifest world. Okay. So I give thanks that I've already received. I accept this good. I give thanks for the shift in consciousness. And then the final one is I release my word to the universal law of mind. This is a reminder to us that we can trust this universal law, this intelligence, to act upon our word, to give us guidance along the way if we need to take any kind of action, and that our end is secured through the universal law. And it doesn't mean we stop treating, we stop praying, but that is one whole complete prayer in and of itself. A seed has been planted, and yes, it's on its way. So let's practice that a little bit. I want to have you get a sense of what we can do just in this moment as we are sitting here in terms of shifting our own energy. So I'd like you to repeat after me. I am filled with joy.
I am filled with joy.
Okay, now put more feeling into it. I am filled with joy. Stand up and really let it out. I am filled with joy. Woo! Okay, what do you notice in your body?
Happy juice.
Okay. All we did was we changed our words, and words come from thoughts, and the energy in our body shifts. So let's everybody sit down and let's do another one. And let's just simply say, I am filled with peace, and say it in the most peaceful way that you can. I am filled with peace. Again. I am filled with peace. And breathe. I am filled with peace. So what do you notice? Goosebumps, yeah. I call them God bumps. Feels good, yeah? We can do that at any time. So when you find yourself in a grouchy mood, all you need to do is change your words and your thoughts and your actions. Starting with your words, You can shift your energy in a millisecond, in a very short period of time. We are powerful, creative beings, and our feelings matter. Our feelings are the power that powers up and gets that creation process going. So it behooves us to do the best that we can to raise our vibration, to raise our feelings to the joy, to the peace, to the love, to the gratitude level. And so that's it, my friends. Namaste. And so it is.
I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. I want to know you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to see you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to hear you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to feel you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to praise you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to love you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in your heart. We're raising the veil. I'm raising the veil. I'm raising the veil.
Yes. Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. That was exquisite.
Thank you, dear.